she's a doctor.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dovec, and she's a dietitian.
Hey, I'm Hannah Schuyler, and together we are
the Doctor-Dietitian Collab. And today we are talking about change. I know. There's a lot of songs about change.
Oh, I was about to say change, but that's chain. That's not the right lyric.
Yeah, I know. I was going to try to sing one too, and I'm like, I really can't think of one, but I know there's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a lot because it's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Change is, I'm going to argue, it might be one of the hardest things that we do as humans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. We all can really beautifully articulate all these amazing things we want to do and accomplish and see our lives as, but to actually do it.
Put that into action.
Ooh, action is tough.
Yeah.
Super
Absolutely.
tough. So we're going to go all into the stages of change today.
Yes.
And this is something that I've really reflected on a lot over the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I give talks to different bariatric surgeons, to different people about the way even hospital administrators, like I've given this kind of concept many, many times that the stages of change are truly so applicable to the bariatric journey and how there are different aspects of that different stage that you're on that really we're just going to dive into so you can identify yourself somewhere on this sort of continuum of change. There's no start and there's no stop, and that's the one major thing with this.
It is. I'd say once you're kind of in it, then there's no start. I think I would think there's kind of a starting point.
Yes, there is a start. You're right.
But there's not, like, once you're kind of in it, it's like a loop, basically, or it can be a loop. And ideally, and we'll talk about what each of these stages are and kind of what we're alluding to, but ideally you get to a point where you're at a comfortable, like, where you don't have to necessarily make big changes. You might be tweaking and you're adjusting and doing those types of things, but you're not always having to, like, reinvent everything when we're talking about this.
Exactly. So let's dive in.
Yeah.
So the first stage of change is pre-contemplation.
Yes.
So pre-contemplation is when you're not even actively thinking about this at all.
You don't really know there's a problem, or you don't recognize that there's something that you want to change. You're just living life.
Yeah, you might be unaware, or maybe someone in denial that you want to change. So this is when you, again, like, treat yourself, live one life. I'm not that big. I don't know much about, let's talk about surgery on this whole thing, of course. You don't know much about surgery, so you have no interest in modifying your day-to-day lifestyle.
Yep. And I think, to me, this is where people, like, usually are not reaching out to us, but it might be somebody reaching out or pushing you on your behalf, and you're super resistant.
Yes.
You're probably in this stage of somebody saying, well, have you thought about, maybe your primary care doctor says, well, have you thought about bariatric surgery? And you're like, hell no.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
That's fair. You're not there yet.
You know, I've heard this many times that you'll go in for, my knee hurts, lose weight. My, whatever, I have a cold, lose weight.
Right.
Like, okay, back off. Like, treat my current situation here.
Yeah.
And whatever. Weight loss could help with certain things, but
you have an ear infection. It doesn't matter.
Enough. Yes, thank you. Like, you're shaming me. I don't even want to come here. We talked about that a lot. You talk about the primary care and, whoever else. There's lots of specialists and healthcare providers, but one of the biggest ones that I feel is the most cringeworthy, and I've heard this repeatedly as well, is that you're a lady, you're getting a pap smear. And it can be challenging to find the cervix to get the right cells, and blah, blah, blah. So I have heard that OBGYNs, I'm going to call it out, have leaned over their leg as they're in this very vulnerable stirrups that we just all can feel and know.
Yeah.
And have you thought about losing weight and having bariatric surgery?
Oh my God. No, I've never once in my life thought about weight loss.
Thank you. Now can
you get out of my vagina?
Yeah, wow, that's great that you're up there just like wanting it to end, and this cold speculum is going in, and we're talking about losing weight. And so that, my colleagues, is not the best time or way to approach somebody that you don't know what part of their stages or their mindset is, or,
And ask asking the question is kind of how you can find out. But then I think it's respecting their answer. If
Yeah,
they say, "Nope," it's like, "Okay."
I know.
There's times to push and there's times not to push.
Exactly. Well, you as somebody that's totally all into this business of knowing the incredible effects of bariatric surgery, I know that you too have, been out at a store, been in public or something. You've seen somebody who's obviously like struggling with their weight and
Mhm.
you see them. And I get asked all the time, like, oh, did you mention to them like, hey, maybe that, that
Yeah.
and you mean well, like,
Yeah.
oh, I have never ever,
I never would.
I know I wouldn't
I
either.
wouldn't approach somebody in public and be like, "Have you thought about bariatric surgery?" Like,
I know.
if they have thought about it, yeah, no, they may, and again, they may not feel that the problem is that bad,
Yeah.
or we see it from a different perspective, and that's
Yeah.
the other thing is I'm not living that person's life. I don't know how they feel. I don't know
I
anything
know.
about them.
I
So
know.
no, absolutely not would I ever approach somebody
Mm.
that's awful.
It is awful,
Yeah.
awful, awful. Now, there's other things, smokers,
Yeah.
they might not feel like it's a problem. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. And so they might just keep on going, same sort of idea. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
There's
different examples that, of
so
course,
many different ways that this can factor into your life. Yeah.
exactly. Okay. So that's pre-contemplation. And that is, I believe, the most sensitive way of getting pulled into this whole
Yes.
continuum is not at your own will.
Yeah.
But sometimes that primary care doctor or whoever
Yeah.
maybe you have had surgery and you are the one that is in public and you see somebody and you are so thrilled that like you
Mhm.
were me.
Yeah.
And I know some of our patients do feel like, hey, I lived it. Like I
Yeah.
can empathize like nobody's business.
Right.
Like,
If somebody had done this to me, it wouldn't have bothered me maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
or
I needed the
maybe
push.
I just didn't even know
Yeah.
about it happening.
Right.
So, but no matter what, if you kind of if it gets put on your radar at that
Mhm.
stage, and obviously with like social media and TikTok and Instagram and
Yeah.
people sharing their stories a lot more and this whole bariatric community that is growing,
Mhm.
I do think that it's not as odd or unknown. I mean, there are
Mhm.
still people all the time that's like, what do you do? And we talk about that. It's just like, what do you mean? You never heard
Right.
of a gastric bypass?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I've
where
had
do you
family
live?
members that don't know about it.
Right? It's weird to me. Like, do you live in a
My
cave?
tiniest family members.
Yeah. They're like,
Does
oh,
the
so what for?
weight loss surgery?
Oh, what is
Okay, yeah,
that?
you weigh 80 pounds, so
Yeah.
like
They might be like, oh, is that like the lap bands?
yeah.
Like maybe a decade ago, and I get it, you're not like as up to date with the
Yeah,
cutting edge
exactly.
literature on this, but there's been a lot of
Yeah.
innovations and it's progressed massively since then. But in that time, no matter what, if it gets put on your radar, you see it, you hear it, you're at a functioning, I do think that it is good because the seed has been planted
Mhm.
and you may not be ready now, but you might be kind of perking up to it.
Yeah. Or at least heard about it.
Yes.
It's out there.
Now, the next stage is contemplation.
All right.
And this is, I feel like there are so many parallels to this. I talk about smoking and, kicking any habit,
Mhm.
but it can also be not like, oh, I'm going to change unhealthy behaviors to healthy behaviors. It can be things like, I want to start a family. I
Yeah.
want to get pregnant.
I'm ready for that next step of
Yes.
whatever it is. Yeah.
So like pre-contemplation is like, yeah, I know that like, okay, once I kind of go through puberty, I understand, like you
Someday.
said, like
Yeah,
someday
exactly.
maybe I might want to have a family.
Yeah.
I know how that all works.
Yeah.
But then it goes into like, I remember the contemplation stage
Uh-huh.
when I thought, wow, I am ready to like actually like start going for this.
Yeah.
I mean, some people enter the stage oh, well, this happened. They
Yeah.
enter that action,
Different.
kind of a
Yeah.
thing. But like the contemplation is when you are now ready.
Mhm.
You're ready to start to really look into this and you're weighing out the pros, the cons
Mhm.
of actually taking action.
Yes.
And how does this work? How do I prepare myself? How do I do like you're
You're
doing
doing the
research.
research. Right. You're looking on social media. You're starting to maybe look up bariatric surgeons near me or weight loss programs near me or whatever it might be.
Exactly. And that's where you're really, hopefully you're listening to this podcast. You
Yeah,
might be in this
exactly.
contemplating stage and
Mhm.
you're, okay, let me get more information about this. Let me look at other people's journeys. I do think that the patient's voice and what their stories are is the most powerful
Mhm.
part of contemplation
Yeah.
because it shows like, wow, look at them and look what they've done and
Mhm.
accomplished, and it makes it more real and it gives you hope. Like, that could
Yeah.
be my results too.
Right, exactly.
And honestly, it could be. So
Yeah.
that's, for what we do at Body by Bariatrics, like when I'm looking at this from like where are we at on this whole cycle?
Uh-huh.
So pre-contemplations, sure, we might have some relationships with referring providers.
Yeah.
The big thing is contemplation. Again, the podcast. We're on Instagram. You
Mhm.
can DM us. You can check out our website. So
Yeah.
that's like you said, Googling things,
Yeah.
you land upon this
Land
website
upon it. Right.
and you're looking at the different procedures and all those things, pros and cons. And
Mhm.
that's a tough one. The pros, yes, I want to get healthy. Yes, I want to get rid of my comorbidities. Yes, I want to lose weight. And
Mhm.
then the biggest thing is, like, why do you want to do all those things though?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think you're going to cross beyond contemplation.
Right.
If you don't really the cons, sure, you could say I could, have all these complications. I
Yeah,
could I could
I don't wanna go
die.
through surgery.
Right.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things
You
that
could you can totally talk yourself out of it.
Mhm.
But I think that when you're weighing and looking at all of the things, you've got to have really just if you're writing this down, why do you want it?
Yeah, if you don't have that, like, North Star to follow,
Yes.
you're gonna probably sit in this stage for a while. And that's the other
Yes.
thing with these is these can
Yes.
I think a lot of times we look at them as, like, a very definitive thing, and you really can fluctuate between these.
Great
So,
point.
especially as we start to move into some of the other ones, you can kind of, like so, as you go the next stage is I'm gonna spoiler alert, it's preparation. So maybe you start the preparation, maybe you reach out to the program and you get that call back or you get the text back or you get the email or whatever it is, and then you're like, oh, nope, nope. I'm going back to my research a little bit here. I'm not quite ready. I
Oh,
dipped my
yes.
toes in, but I'm getting back out of the pool.
Gosh, we see this. I would say this is maybe it's a Saturday night.
Hmm.
You're sitting there alone. You feel low. You feel like I got to do
Gotta
something. You
make
submit your
change.
stuff, and then the next morning, Sunday, hello, it's Dr. Dovec.
Yeah.
I would love to take
She
care
will
of
text
you.
you on a Sunday
I
morning,
do.
folks, too.
I do. That's when I do most of my texting, as we know. On the weekends, I get caught up and I write to everybody.
Uh-huh.
And if again, we say it's us, it's us.
Yep.
And I think that it's so interesting to me because I haven't really been involved so much on the front end.
Yeah.
Because when I was hospital employed, there was always a front desk receptionist or
Yes.
sort of coordinator that would contact the patients.
Yeah.
Now we text and it's an easier way of getting started. I can see I'm shocked by I would say like 90 to 95% of all the leads that come in wait or don't
Mhm.
respond initially or say they're just not ready or just ignore you and ghost
Yeah.
you. Like I'm like, wow, you filled out this whole
We get
form.
ghosted a lot.
We do.
It hurts our feelings,
It
guys.
does. Well, we would love to take care of you.
I
And,
know.
and honestly, like taking the first step, I've said
Mhm.
this many times, is always the hardest in
Yeah.
doing something overwhelming like changing.
Yeah.
So you've taken the first step, you put in your information. Like I promise we won't bite. Like just keep taking the information,
Right.
like no obligation. But
Yeah.
if you did that, I'm always like, just do the consult. Like
Right. Just one more step.
one more step, just keep learning more and
Mhm.
just keep contemplating,
Yeah.
contemplating, contemplating.
But if you don't, and then 6 months later you text us again, great. You move back into that. And that's the other
Exactly.
thing. So I think that's where, again, we kind of look at it as like, well, once you leave that stage, you can't go back, or it's very just definite. And it's not. It's
It's
very
not.
fluid.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. It is fluid.
Hmm.
There is no obligation.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants to feel like, oh my gosh, if I write back to her,
Then I
then
have
I'm
to get
like locked
surgery.
in.
Yeah.
Like you do not.
Mm.
Like you can learn
There's
more.
so
You
many
can
more steps between here and there.
exactly. And
Hmm.
if you do say I just can't do this, I can talk to you about it. I can
Yeah.
help we can help you with your pros and your cons.
Yeah.
I always feel like the biggest con, even beyond like the actual technicality and complications of the
Hmm.
surgery, are more in
Uh-huh.
nutrition.
Yeah.
And that, like, what is life like? Again, we talk constantly about the fear of the unknown and like
Mm.
eating. I like to eat. I have to eat.
Yeah.
And I always tell people during the initial consult, I'm like, this is my partner, Hannah, and she's cool. That's her
Yeah.
superpower, and that she gets it.
Yeah.
We're not like, you're not going to be told, like, okay, you only eat dry chicken breast or like these
Yeah.
same, like, stale kind of
Yeah.
like thoughts about like healthy nutrition, the food guide
Yeah.
pyramid. Like, that stuff is like, we're totally beyond that.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have to like eat only vegetables and just this
Yeah.
bland,
Bland and plain
terrible
and
stuff.
yeah.
So that's all, I think, one of the biggest
Yeah.
things in getting to this preparation, as you've
Mhm.
already kind of said. So now, as far as preparation goes, this is where if you have insurance,
Mhm.
they have a policy and they have all of their own, these lovely policymakers,
Oh,
these medical directors, whoever they are, and they sit in their ivory towers and they make these rules of like, this is what you need to do and
mhm.
accomplish to be able to be what we call prepared to have
Yeah.
surgery, which is like crap because we are the ones that are in the trenches and we know when a patient's prepared and like
Right.
you don't trust our decision.
No.
Now a lot of the insurances are, moving towards allowing putting us back into the kind of ownership
Yeah.
of that.
They're being more chill.
They are being more chill and we have a whole episode on insurance and really just demystifying
Mhm.
that whole thing as well. A lot of it is not as hard as it used to be.
Mhm.
Used to be, you had to be there 6 months to a year and like and go in person. We're
Right.
virtual. You can get completely prepared, educated, even better than you used to because it's convenient.
Yeah.
I think it's
I think it's yes.
very, very, very easy on that
Yeah.
whole thing. Now, you're also in the preparation. There's, yes, the insurance requirements. Yes, if you're going self pay, you have those sorts of things. But it's also just like setting expectations
Mhm.
for, okay, this is when my surgery will be. This is what I bring with me. This is what it will
Yes.
feel like afterwards. When can I go back to work? Like all of those questions, those FAQs, those things will absolutely be
Mhm.
thoroughly reviewed during that preparation
Yeah.
process.
And then I think another part of the preparation, and this is where then of course we start to move again. I'm just gonna spoil each next one, moving into action,
Yes.
but it's where we start to say, okay, we're gonna do the pre-op diet changes. We're gonna work to make some of those habit changes now in preparation. If surgery really is the action
Mhm.
phase of this, we're going to start to make some of those changes in preparation both physically and mentally because those go hand in hand with being successful throughout this whole cycle and after the
Exactly.
action during the action phase.
And I think that that's huge. And that's my gripe with insurance. Some people literally enter this and having looked into bariatric surgery and the lifestyle and research, and they were in contemplation for years, like you
Mhm.
mentioned. So when that switch goes off, I'm ready. You're absolutely ready
Yeah.
for action. Some people like, I need a lot more hand holding. I'm
Mhm.
not familiar with this. This is so unknown to me. Wow, information overload. We have on our website, for example, you can download it, our bariatric surgery success guide,
Mhm.
and it's dense.
Yeah.
We
It's
have a
like
lot.
60 pages long.
It is, and I'm constantly like, I gotta add about 10 more pages
Yeah.
to it. And just to give you this like really great outline of the diet before and after surgery and
Mhm.
incisional care and movement and all the things
All the
that
things.
sometimes you don't know that you don't know. Like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I never even thought about that. Vitamins, calcium
Yeah.
for life, labs, follow-up. Oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed. I'm slithering back into, like, forget about this or contemplation or
Yeah.
whatever. So, but I do think that the key to success is being organized and prepared.
Mhm.
So, once you kinda lean into it and you go all in, I mean, some people get this stuff, like I said, laminated, printed. We love
Oh
that.
my
We
gosh.
love that when
Yes.
you're really like, "I am
Beautiful
going to know
binders.
every detail."
Mhm.
These things. So, action. Action is
Action.
yes, that is the surgery
Yes.
itself. And that's also in the preparation of this. Which surgery are you gonna pick?
Mhm.
Are you gonna go with the sleeve? Are you gonna go with a gastric bypass? Did
Mhm.
you already have surgery and now you're contemplating and preparing to have it revised or
Right.
converted to another procedure? And why? And all of those, types of things to get you to the operating room.
Mhm.
And, we've talked a little bit about just explaining that day
Yeah.
and what it feels like to come drive to the hospital. Like, oh my gosh, I'm really doing this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm actually doing this. And then you walk in and everyone's sitting in pre-op, and pretty much most people will say, like, "I'm just super scared." Like,
Yeah.
and you can see some people, their, like, heart rates are up, and they're, like, visibly shaken. So
Yeah.
and, like, am I the only one that feels this way? I'm like, literally everybody today I've seen
Yeah.
is like this, and I will try to be very just cool and calm and just like, "We got you," but
Yeah, your normal, cool, calm, collected self.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
That I just exude that, like,
Those are the
energy.
adjectives I use to describe you
Yes, I'm like a
often.
lavender haze
You
coming
are.
at you.
Okay, Taylor.
I know, she's everywhere. Even on the pod. Taylor, if you're
Yeah.
listening, thanks, girl. But yes, like, try to, like, calm you
Yeah.
down. Sometimes I'll even prescribe a little low dose Valium, just, like, take the edge off,
Yeah.
and it's a big deal. But then on the other side of it, some, patients, a lot there's also trickled in there, maybe some bigger doses than others, just excitement.
Excitement.
Like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm proud of myself.
Uh-huh.
I have contemplated this for years. I have done every diet and exercise plan in the book. I
Mhm.
have taken the meds. I have tried my best, and I'm giving myself all the grace and mercy that I am ready for action.
Yes.
And then you do it.
And
You're on
yeah.
the edge of that cliff. We go, you jump,
Mhm.
and then you're like, man, the descent was cool.
Yeah.
Like, gosh, that was so cool. The view was incredible. It felt
Yeah.
insane. And, the journey is a wild one. And it just has all that exhilaration that's involved with it.
Yeah.
Then we've talked about this often. You're in that initial weight loss, the
Yes.
honeymoon, things are great. Wow, every time I step on the scale, I'm losing weight.
Mhm.
It's just like I'm getting noticed. Oh my gosh, look at my pictures, my face, my clothes. Like, this
Yeah.
is so good.
Everything is just going right. And that's still to me all the action phase, I would say, because you're still making all those changes.
That's a great point.
You're still, living the lifestyle and doing all of that. You're still in action. You're still probably learning too.
Yeah, you are, and you definitely are still learning because
Mhm.
you can be the most prepared.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time, like, tell me what your best patients do. And that's what you're trying to do. Like,
Yeah.
you're undergoing this major change, and you really want to make sure that you are like the A plus gold star student,
Mhm.
best patient of the best, the goat. Who doesn't want to be a goat? And you want to come out there, but it's just like so impossible to predict. Again, the parallels to pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like, Hannah's pregnant now, and she is such an organized, level-headed person. And then when it comes, it's like it's it's impossibility. You can read
You
every
don't
book and
know.
all of it.
Yeah. You don't know what's going to be your reality.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
what I always talk when I talk to people. It's like, or when people ask about, what do you enjoy with your job or anything like that. I'm like, I really love talking to people like after surgery because they're actually in it at that point.
yeah,
People ask me, well, what am I going to be able to do? I'm like, well, you may be able to do this, and you might be able to do that. I can't tell you right now because
I know.
both are a possibility at this point. I'm
Exactly.
like, oh, well, water might make you nauseous. I can't predict it
I
if it
know.
will or not, though. Like
I
just little
know.
things like that.
Yeah, and people will even like, okay, look at my, all my preparation. I have all of the protein shakes, the
Yes.
all the things. You're like, I hate the way this
Oh
tastes. The
yeah, don't
taste change.
overbuy protein shakes. That is always advice I give pre-op.
That is a
Don't
great point.
have
Don't do that.
some,
Yes.
but don't buy 9 cases of
Because then
it.
you're like, I hate this now. And
Yeah.
then people will be generous and give it away, but like, don't waste your money. Don't waste your
Yeah.
money in some of that you can't really take back. So just
Yeah.
be careful in your preparation
Yeah.
phase. Don't overdo it, my
Over-prepare.
friends. You my overachievers,
Yeah.
which I love. But yeah, action would say is, just like you said, it's so fluid. You're always going to kind of go back and forth within
Mhm.
action, and you
And
know,
and then again into the next stage, which is maintenance.
yes,
And I think that there's maintenance in two ways we can kind of look at that. So there's weight maintenance, which is what obviously comes to our mind because that's what we focus on. But there's also just maintenance with the lifestyle changes.
hmm,
So you may still be in that weight loss phase, but your lifestyle is pretty much in maintenance. You've got it figured out. You know what you're eating every
mm,
day. You know when you're working out. You know you're getting your fluids in, but you're still actively in that weight loss stage as
yes,
far as physically, but mentally, emotionally, you're maintaining.
yes,
And that's a great place to live.
it is.
That's where we want to get you to.
We want to get you to there. I will tell you, when you get to it, though, it's really hard
Yeah.
because it's also not as exciting.
Right.
Action versus maintenance.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like bleh,
Yeah.
boring, meh, whatever. It's not.
We're not watching like maintenance movies.
No, we're not. There's no drama. Where's the cinematic appeal?
Yeah.
Like, no, you want to see action.
Yeah.
Our lives are packed with action. We kind of live for the drama.
So, tangent on movies, I always fall asleep during like major action scenes. Like, if we watch a movie at home, that's like guaranteed when I'm going to fall
Me too. I
asleep.
think that stuff is so lame. I hate it. But anyway, yeah.
He laughs at me. He's like, I was like, "What happened? They fought? Okay, cool."
I know.
Conk
I
back
know.
out.
I don't like that stuff. I don't like
No
it.
dialogue.
I know. That's it. I need to know the relationships and the drama. I
Yes.
love rom-coms. Like,
Yeah.
I live for that. So, yeah, maintenance is like, oh, and they lived happily ever after.
Right.
Like, no. I mean, I just told you before here, I'm like, my most liked or viewed Instagram story I've ever had is when I got a flat tire.
Yeah.
I'm like, people like to see, like, oh, well, what
Some
did you do then? Why
yeah.
did that happen? Were you reckless? Were you like,
Yeah.
what's the story behind that one? Like, what's
Yeah.
the story? People want that. And so maintenance is, it's like, oh, well, you did it. You won. People want to know about the time when you are trying to build something major.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's kind of what we're doing. And
Mhm.
what is the story of the ramen noodles? I have a friend who's extraordinarily successful.
Mhm.
She sold her company. She rents yachts
Yeah.
now. Like
I mean,
she's on down on. I mean, yeah, that's like,
yeah.
yeah, whatever.
Taco
But
Tuesday.
so she has like a limo that drives her
Mhm.
around and she does her work in there. I love this woman. Like, she is my spirit animal. Like, seriously, like a ferocious person. But she tells me all the time, like when she's at these things, like she sits on the board of some major companies and universities.
Mhm.
And I don't want to call her out because the university that she's on the board of, there's only one other female on that board, which is a whole different thing. But anyway, so she tells me that when they all go out and they're all like these interesting, like, the founder of these big companies that you know of and things like that, and they're all just chatting it up like it's
Yeah.
normal. But I mean, I
It
guess
is
it is
for them. Yeah.
normal. She tells me that like nobody cares about their lives now, their big mansions, their all their things. They
Yeah.
care about like the rise to it.
Yeah.
So once you get into that maintenance, you have to somehow just we say it, get gritty. Like
Yeah.
it's the long-term perseverance towards this lifelong goal of health.
Right. One, and you have a couple good words in there. Lifetime, long term. This is the longest phase too,
Yes.
which that is. It's just it's repetitive and it's boring. And I
Yeah.
think that is where then we move sometimes into the next final stage, if I counted correctly,
Yes.
is relapse.
Relapse. Yeah. And
Um,
that's if you've regained some weight. We say slip, don't slide. And he's like,
mhm,
I slid a little bit.
yeah.
I've gained back a little bit of weight. I gained back a lot of weight. I gained back more weight than where I was.
Hmm.
You know what? I always feel like people are truly their rawest, most emotional, vulnerable. I am a failure. What the hell? I like I touch the heavens. I
Hmm.
hit gold. Like, look at these pictures and look what I did and that number on the scale and all the things. And it just messes with you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, why did I let this happen? And that's the time where I feel like we are the most gentle, like
Hmm.
because all of us have slid at something
Yeah.
at some point. It might have been our weight, it might have been something else.
Yeah.
There's always a time where we're gonna face obstacles, and
Hmm.
then I think that the biggest thing there is almost when you acknowledge that you've
Yeah.
hit that obstacle, that barrier, that okay, the weight regain, and then like you said, you kind of go back into the cycle,
Yep.
and you refocus. You start contemplating, do I want to do revisional surgery? Is
Uh-huh.
this something that I feel I need surgical intervention or at least a consultation to discuss?
Right.
Is this something that maybe I want to add a medication on?
Yep.
So that's what we have, a medical weight loss
Yep.
program, and the post-op patients are even more successful. So
Yeah.
that's exciting too. Is this something that I just got to tighten up, get back to the basics, make it a visit with Hannah,
Yeah.
talk
Right.
nutrition?
Tattooed. Yeah. Figure out the lifestyle, things like that. So then we can, and that's when then you can really quickly and or float backwards almost into another stage, or you move quickly through. You're skipping the like, and you may be there too. You may have regained, you relapsed, and then you don't really think that there's a problem,
Yeah.
until you maybe again you see a picture, or you see, but you're kind of living in your own thing. You've let everything go, or
Mhm.
and so you might be like, well, I don't need to make a change. I already did the surgery. But then
Yeah,
we can hopefully quickly move you back through of like, all
definitely.
right, you know,
I think this is such an important point. It is never hopeless.
no.
Never. You never have to just accept that, well, I'm just meant to be fat,
Yeah.
the F word. Like, no, Never. You never have to accept anything. And
Right.
this is your destiny. It's not, you know? And that's when maybe you re-engage with support groups. Maybe you
Mhm.
attend meetups. Maybe you get back into your exercise routine if that was something that you really like to do. Meal
Yeah.
prepping, journaling,
Yeah.
talking, therapy. There's a
So many
lot
different
of
things you can
ways
do.
to re-engage yourself and kind of get
Mhm.
back into it. Habits are hard to break. And when you really think about dietary habits,
Mm.
if you went back to skipping meals and you find yourself eating that bag of chips at
Yeah,
night
you're
or
grazing
whatever,
throughout the day.
those are things that you really want to kind of just evaluate.
Uh-huh.
To improve yourself, you got to first know yourself
Yeah,
and know what
absolutely.
stage you are in.
Absolutely. And again, I think that's where we look at the time is going to be a big thing on that. Like you said it earlier, the honeymoon phase. That's when people they do tend to have it easiest because it's all
Mhm.
fresh in their mind and it's all exciting and new and it's you're losing weight week after week after week after week. And then we move into, well, just maintaining my weight.
Mm.
And I think that's also if we look at people who are not in surgery, but may just be doing weight loss through maybe you're able to do it through lifestyle intervention or maybe a medical intervention without
Mhm.
necessarily being at surgery. I always tell people maintenance is the hardest part. Because a
Mhm.
lot of people come to us and they're like, yeah, I've been able to lose 80 pounds on my own before but I gain it all back and then some. And it's like, yeah,
Yes.
because maintenance is not, first, it's not sexy like
No.
weight loss is.
No.
No one's talking about your maintenance diet. You're talking about a weight loss diet, or you're talking about how to lose, that's on the magazine covers. The magazine covers don't say how to continue to live your healthiest life. It's like, that doesn't work. So I always say maintenance is the hardest and longest
Mhm.
stretch. So,
Yeah, so, I mean, I love this. I love the stages of change. I love them for so many different reasons and different things you wanna do, but change is possible,
change is possible.
and,
And you can use these, like you said earlier, like this can apply to so many different parts of your life.
yeah.
And I think too that that can be helpful when you are assessing what you want your life to look like outside of this. And that also could maybe be something that motivates you in helping you in your maintenance phase, for instance. So maybe something that you want to do is travel more. So you kind of start to get into that as like, that's the change I'm going to make. And how do I put that into place? And that makes it easier for you to maintain because that's aligning with your new goals.
Mhm.
That is helping you to get to that next step. Maybe it's your job that has been miserable for years and you've been wanting to leave and or go into a new field
Yeah.
or do something and that can kind of propel you so you can take these because this is like a studied thing. This
Oh,
is not
yeah.
something we made up. Like this is a
No,
psychological, like legitimate thing. So you
accurate.
really can pull into other aspects of your life, but then I think they can all kind of tie back into each other
Yeah,
and help to keep you within where we want you to be, which is the
exactly.
action maintenance stages. That's where we
Exactly.
want to really stay, ideally.
Exactly. Because guess what? Life happens,
Yeah.
and, you just readapt, and you just keep on
Yep.
going. You just keep on going and
For
changing and
sure.
embracing it.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Well, I would love the thought that if you are ready for a change, that you are ready with Body by Bariatrics.
Absolutely.
And we have our website, bodybybariatrics.com.
Mhm.
And if you're in that pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, listen to all of our podcasts.
Yes.
We got a lot of info and content for you out
Absolutely.
there.
So yes, always check us out at DoctorXDietitian on Instagram. You can find at Dr. Dovec or at hannahschuyler.rd. Our website is drxdietitian.com. We're on YouTube. Find us literally anywhere.
Yep, we're everywhere.
Yep.
We annoy ourselves.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we
All
do.
right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening. Bye, guys.
Bye.